Welcome back to a Derby weekend edition of the David Palmer's Drink of the Day. We're not going to have a Kentucky Derby this weekend, and we're not going to have a Kentucky Oaks. And that's a little depressing for those of us here in Kentucky. And we're going to try to celebrate a little bit anyway. I know this drink doesn't have bourbon in it, but it is the flagstaff of the Kentucky Oaks, the run for the fillies. The race, the Kentucky Oaks, is for 2-year-old fillies. And it is made as a precursor to the Kentucky Derby. It typically runs on Friday, and it's a very popular local race as compared to the Kentucky Derby. It is a huge benefit and supporter of breast cancer and breast cancer awareness, and because of that, they have a beautiful drink called the Oaks Lilly. And we're going to go ahead and make two Oaks Lilies for you guys, and these are pretty easy drinks to make, but we're going to go ahead and start out, and then we're going to do another drink it's pretty complex and it's really fun. So let's do that. The Oaks Lilly for one person is 1 1/4 ounce of vodka. Now we're going to use Tito's. Obviously, all these recipe companies try to throw their brand name in there. But since we're making it for two, that's 2 1/2 ounces. So 2 1/2 ounces. Here's my 2 ounce pour. And we're just going to go half of the 1 ounce. 2 1/2 ounces, and then we're going to do an ounce of, let's do this. Let's do an ounce of sweet and sour mix. Now listen, sweet and sour mix that you buy in the store has a lot of preservatives in it. It's really easy to make your own, as I did today. Equal parts of fresh lime juice, fresh lemon juice, and then double that of simple syrup. Shake it up and stir it. You'll end up with a lot better product. It has a decent shelf life in your refrigerator. So I have 2 ounces of homemade sweet and sour right here. And then it calls for 1/4 ounce per drink of triple sec. I'm going to use a 1/2 ounce because I'm making 2. And then it calls for 3 ounces of cranberry juice. I'm going to use 6, obviously, because I'm making 2 of these. We'll shake it up. Now, you could just do this in the glass and stir it, and that's probably how they do it at most tracks. I imagine at Churchill Downs, they have them pre-made in a bucket. But here's a nice little drink. Now, let's take our strainer and let's put it in the glass. It's going to have a beautiful color. Pink lily color, breast cancer awareness. And if you look close, these are last year's Kentucky Oaks glasses. I'll set these. Let me garnish these. It gets garnished with a lemon and a blackberry, but I did not have those, so I'm going to use blueberries, which I think are equally pretty. I'll let you get a close-up on that while we prep for our next drink. While you're looking at that, the next drink is called the Vieux. And, you know, it's probably, I probably mispronounce it, but it's really more of a New Orleans accent and not a French accent. So for all of you guys that went to private school in French class, get off your high horse, come to New Orleans style. Their French is a little bit different and spoken differently. This is a classic cocktail of New Orleans, one of the originals. And you need to understand a little bit about this. This cocktail, basically what happened was a cobbler came over from Europe, from Italy, in late 1800s. And he started a little cobbler shop, and that's Cobbler Shoemaker, not Cobbler the Pie, in New Orleans. And he saw some property going up for sale down the street, and he rushed down and bought it and turned it into a hotel. The hotel was called the Hotel Monteleone, and his name was Antonio. And Antonio started this hotel, and he had a drink that was made in its bar. Now later on, as that hotel progressed, they turned that bar, and they brought in a carousel. Now in Kentucky, we call that merry-go-round, but a carousel in New Orleans. And they put that in. Now the carousel would rotate once every 15 minutes. It couldn't go too fast, or how could you sit there and have a drink? But anyway, the bartender made this drink, and it's called the twirling drink, but it's the Vieux. Vieux means the block in New Orleans. And so we're going to make this drink in a stirring glass. And then I'm going to tell you a little more about the drink, but it's a fun drink. Let's start with some ice. I'm going to grab some ice back here real quick. And And we're going to do 4 dashes of our aromatic bitters right here. What's it say? Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 dashes of bitters. Now this is an interesting drink. 2 tablespoons of Benedictine. Now because this drink calls for brandy, or calls for cognac and Benedictine as separate ingredients, I'm going to, instead of using cognac and separately, I'm going to use a mixture. This is called Benedictine and brandy. It's already mixed Benedictine, already mixed brandy. One of my favorite after dinner drinks, just up and on the rocks. So we're going to use 2 tablespoons, and we're just making 1 drink of this because this is a powerful drink. 1 teaspoon of that Benedictine there. And then we're going to go with 3/4 ounce of sweet vermouth. Use good quality vermouth because you can't handle vermouth. Anyway, so let's go. So we've got our cognac in there. Actually, we're going to do a little bit more because it does call for a tablespoon, but then we're actually mixing the brandy and the Benedictine there. Okay, and then it calls for 3/4 ounces of bourbon. There we go. And let's see, that is pretty much it. We've got our bourbon, we've got everything else in there. We're going to stir it. Let's just use a bar spoon. Stir it until it's nice and cold. The folks in New Orleans love to make a cocktail. And this cocktail originally came about at the time when there was a lot of people coming from all over the world to New Orleans. And so that's where you get cognac and things from France, and then you get American whiskeys and things like that all mixed together. Stir this up. Grab our strainer again. Drop this over. And obviously you folks probably have watched enough to understand why I am so smitten with certain drinks from certain places. The Monteleone restaurant and bar. There you go. There's our Vieux. The Monteleone restaurant and bar in New Orleans is still there. The Carousel is still there. If you go, you should go visit this place. Even more spectacular about the Carousel bar is it's been considered home of some of the most famous 19th century authors in the United States. It had people show up there like Ernest Hemingway, and you know I love him, Tennessee Williams, William Faulkner, and Eudora Welty there. Not all at the same time, but makes for an amazing story, a place to go. If you ever get to New Orleans, you need to get to the Spinning Bar. You can even ask for the Spinning Bar cocktail or the Vieux. I hope you folks have a great time this weekend. We will definitely do some mint juleps tomorrow in the official drink of Woodford Reserve at the racetrack of Churchill Downs. And we'll show you some more fun stuff. Love your family. Hug your kids. Be good. Stay safe. And have a bourbon.